All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for real people just like you and just like me. Well, if you're a Rat fan, you've got to be following Stephen Pearcy lately because he's been talking a lot about getting the band back together again, obviously, minus Robin Crosby. I don't know how he intends to do this because the other guys don't really seem to want to do this. But he says, Pearcy, I will not do another record unless it's with the original guys. Now, he goes on to talk about Infestation, which is an album that came out over 10 years ago. People go, that's a great record. I'm like, well, that's because it was the only thing that we were able to give you. If there was Juan in there, if there was Robin in there, and again, I don't know how Robin gets in there. Robin passed away in 2002, and a lot of hardcore Rat fans, like with so many bands, they're just like, you know what? Without Robin, it's just not the same thing. Infestation turned out to be a pretty decent album, and that's because they used Carlos Cavazo, who was playing guitar. I guess he and Carlos have actually written a couple of songs together, Pearcy and Carlos Cavazo. But, you know, he just wants to keep this brand alive, and a lot of the guys just don't want to do it. And I think that's been the battle that he's had. Look, this is kind of a guilty pleasure band for a lot of folks who grew up listening to 80s hard rock and glam sounding metal. Beau Hill, brilliant producer. And you got to give kudos to, obviously, Robin Crosby, who was a really great guitar player for sure. And Pearcy, who sounds like nobody else on the planet. In fact, I should trademark what I'm about to say, but if a rat could sing and talk, it would likely sound like Stephen Pearcy. Now, I know a lot of rats go running around squeaking and stuff, so maybe that's a poor analogy, but you associate Pearcy's voice with a giant rat. You know, and it's not a bad thing. It's just, this is what I get for imagery. Will there be a reunion? I don't know. I think there'd have to be a large bundle of money waiting for the boys who don't want to participate in this. Pearcy doesn't want this to be just a nostalgia thing. And the other guys are like, let's just go out and play the songs people know. I think with Ratt, which is interesting, they have a far better catalog than Quiet Riot, for instance. But yet Quiet Riot is out there just plugging away with a band that is completely non-original. Like, there are no original members in that band, whereas Pearcy can go out there as the leader, the lead vocalist, and he can take anybody with him. And I think he can call it Ratt. I think he won that battle a few years ago. But he wants legitimacy. He wants people to think, okay, this is something better because all these guys decided to come back. And that is really the battle for many older bands where members either don't want to play anymore, they're tired, they're older, they're in their golden years, and they just want to chill, and they don't want to have to go out on the road and do like 150 dates a year or something. You can make some really good money, though, if everything comes back the way it should, and people can go see live concerts and there are no restrictions. My suggestion for that, by the way, is typically you can avoid restrictions if you're eating and drinking. So I would just say line up the adult beverages if you're going to go to a show, and just that way you can avoid the restrictions. Someone comes around and says, hey, here, I got my beer here. What? Come on, leave me alone. So that's just one way around it. Maybe there are a couple of others. You're going to need your little passport, which I think is interesting. I'm going to say that. I'm going to try to swerve away from that. But in any event, I've gone off on a tangent here. I do think Ratt does have a brand that is certainly still marketable. They had that Geico commercial a while back. Of course, people focus on one track, which is Round and Round. This band has just a ton of material that was rock radio friendly back in the day. and still could be if you actually had a mainstream rock radio format that was a little more nostalgic and wasn't just focused on the last 10 or 15 years, which mainstream rock was never about that. In the old days, you heard stuff from the Doors and Cream and Led Zeppelin, like the first couple of records, which came out basically in the 1960s, and that just carried forward. It never went away. And then grunge hits and all of that goes away, and all that supposed geezer music is just relegated to Spotify. So I guess you have to go to Spotify, build your own radio station. In any event, yeah, I think there would be some people interested in a full-blown Ratt reunion, even if Robin Crosby isn't there, which obviously he can't be there. So that's his excuse, and it's a good excuse if you're going to say, hey, we got everybody we could, and here they are, ladies and gentlemen, Ratt. So we'll just wait and see. That's all we can do. With Stephen Pearcy, he keeps bugging everybody, but who knows if anybody really cares enough about this. Maybe he should go on with Eddie Trunk a few times and beg his bandmates to come back, and who knows, maybe they will.